This is the 7.6 video answer key, and I'm only going to go over 3 examples. I actually think that the notes go over enough examples of everything here that you should understand the plug and chug nature of this. I'm just going to go over a couple of the more difficult ones I'm giving you, and I'm going to go over one of the trig identities to kind of show you what this looks like to help you out. Outside of that, I think you should be able to do the rest of this on your own, but again, you can always set up a meeting with me and ask me questions if you do have questions. First one I'm going to look at is number 9 because we do have something a little bit more complicated here with the fraction. So I've got the sine of 3 theta over 2 times the cosine of theta over 2. So again, this is the same thing as the sine of alpha times the cosine of beta, which means that I just plug it into the sum to product formula when we have the sine of alpha times the cosine of beta. This becomes 1/2 times the sine of 3 theta over 2 plus theta over 2 plus the sine of 3 theta over 2 minus theta over 2. Luckily, they're giving us really nice here. They're giving us a common denominator. This is 1/2 the sine of 4 theta over 2 plus the sine of 2 theta over 2, reduce. And then we're looking at the sine of 2 theta plus the sine of theta. And that's our final answer. We just combine them here. We have a little bit of fraction addition, but we don't even have to find common denominators in this case. It's very straightforward. The book set it up to work for us very nicely. And as we can see, when we know our formulas and we know how to simplify and add our fractions, this is very straightforward, very nice, very easy. Number 17, when we look at that, I've got the cosine of theta over 2 minus the cosine of 3 theta over 2. So my alpha here is theta over 2. My beta here is 3 theta over 2. I go to my sum to product formulas. When I'm subtracting cosines, this ends up becoming -2 times the sine of theta over 2 plus 3 theta over 2 over 2. And then the sine of theta over 2 minus 3 theta over 2 over 2. I'll start simplifying. And we could do brackets around that, but we're not because it's all multiplication. -2 times the sine of 4 theta over 2 over 2 times the sine of -2 theta over 2 over 2. Reduce. -2 times the sine of 2 theta over 2 times the sine of negative theta over 2. This one reduces, the other one does not. This becomes -2 times the sine of theta times the sine of negative theta over 2. We're actually going to move this negative out front of the sine, and because of that, that's going to cancel out with this negative out here. And this is going to become +2 times the sine of theta times the sine of positive theta over 2. We use that even odd property to simplify it down there. And that's the final answer for 17. So again, 1 through 9, you're using your product to sum formula. 11 through 17, you're using your sum to product formula. And then finally, we've got a few trig identities here. I'm looking at number 19. Sine of theta plus the sine of 3 theta all over 2 times the sine of 2 theta, and that's equal to the cosine of theta. We only work on the left-hand side here. I see that my numerator is a sum of multiple thetas here, so I'm going to go ahead and treat that as adding 2 sines together. So I'm going to turn this into 2 times the sine of theta plus 3 theta over 2 times the cosine of theta minus 3 theta over 2. And this is all over 2 times the sine of 2 theta. This becomes 2 times the sine of 4 theta over 2 times the cosine of negative 2 theta over 2, all over 2 sine 2 theta. These reduce 2 times the sine of 2 theta times the cosine of negative theta, all over 2 times the sine of 2 theta. Well, those cross out, those 2's cross out as well. I'm left with the cosine of negative theta, which of course, when I use my even odd properties, just becomes the cosine of positive theta. So the cosine of positive theta is equal to the cosine of positive theta. So it's just going through. All of these are going to apply the sum to product or product to sum formula to help you get there. You're plugging, you're using those formulas as you see fit, and it should simplify fairly easily to the right side. It's nice when you have it in a chapter like this where you're not fumbling and trying to guess what property or what formulas you're using. It's just given to you. You know that you're using a sum to product or product to sum, and it's going to be straightforward based off what you're adding or subtracting. If you have any questions, again, reach out sooner rather than later, and have a great night.